now proceed with the module number 5, which is all about planning. Planning and its nature. So as discussed in the first chapter, the first essential of managerial function is planning. Planning by nature is important since it is the conscious systemat is it is the it is the conscious systematic process of making decisions about goals and activities that an organization will pursue in the future. So kung natatandaan ninyo noong chapter 1 or noong module 1 na diniscuss natin, 'di ba? Yung sa managerial function, ang four basic management, ang unang-una diyan is yung planning. And sabi nga itong planning, this involves choosing tasks that must be performed to attain organizational goals, to outline how the task must be performed and how and to indicate when they should be performed. So, ito yung pinaka-unang-unang ginagawa in terms of the management, okay? So, yan ang pinaka-unang kailangang gawin. Okay, so ano ba yung nature nito? Ayan. Planning and its nature. So, planning differs widely than decision making. While decisions can be made without planning, planning cannot be done without making decisions. Sige nga, sino bang nakaintindi doon? Ano ibig sabihin nun? While decisions can be made without planning and planning cannot be done without making decision. So, ibig sabihin, in terms of decision making, hindi na pinagpaplanuhan yon, 'di ba? Impromptu, meron ka na agad decision. Basta meron ka ng basis, meron ka na agad decision nang hindi na pinagpaplanuhan kung kailan ka magde-decide for the organization. But planning cannot be done without making decisions. So kailangan kapag nagpaplano ka, kailangan meron kang decisions na gawin. So for example, you are doing planning and you plan na magkaroon ng, sabihin natin kunwari, you plan na expand kayo ng business or magpuput up kayo ng another branch noong business kunwari, yan. So, what you need is yung decision na kung saan kailangan ninyong alamin kung makakapag-commit ba at kung kakayanin ba. So, you need to decide. Okay? So, you need to decide for the plans kung itutuloy ba or hindi or isasama ba sa plano na ginagawa. Okay? So, that's it. Yung sinasabi nating decision, pwedeng gawin without planning, but planning cannot be done without making decisions. So, kailangan pasok lagi ang decision making while doing your planning. Okay? Next. So, the nature of planning can be defined as follows. So, sabi, planning is goal-oriented. Plans arise from objectives. Objectives provide guidelines for planning. Okay? So, kapag meron ka ng objective, syempre paplanuhin mo paano mo mai-achieve yung objective na yon. And then yung objective mo na iyon, yun yung nagsiserve as your guideline for planning. Kasi kailangan yung plan mo kung ano yung plano mo or ano yung outline of plans mo, kailangan naka-align yan dun sa objective. Kaya ka nga nagpa-plan syempre para ma-achieve mo kung ano yung objective na sinet mo. Okay? So, kailangan naka-base kung ano yung plano mo or naka-align siya dun sa pinaka-objective. So, kung halimbawa nasa business organization, kailangan naka-align yung plans mo doon sa iyong, halimbawa, kung sa company, yung mission vision, okay? Then the objectives and the goals of the company or the organization. So, planning is goal-oriented, okay? Kailangan, hindi ka lang basta-basta magpaplano, ay gusto ko ng ganito, gusto ko ng ganyan. Kailangan may basis yung ginagawa mong plano. Okay? Next, ang sabi rin, it is a primary function. So, planning provides the basis foundation from which all future management functions arise. So ito nga daw yung primary function kasi dito lahat nagsisimula sa planning, 'di ba? Kahit naman kung magpaplano kayo mag-swimming, 'di ba? Unang-una lagi is magpaplano kayo. 'Di ba? Tawag nyo nga doon, magdo-drawing kayo, 'di ba? Paggagala kayo, puro drawing. Ang tanong, nakukulayan ba yung drawing, 'di ba? So ganun lang 'yon in short. Yung planning, parang ganun lang din 'yon. Kapag kayo sa terminologies ninyo, 'di ba? Magdo-drawing kayo, 'di ba? So ang tanong, yung drawing ba na yun ay nakukulayan ba, 'di ba? So yun yung tinatawag, it is a primary function daw. And then, it is persuasive as well. So, it is required at all levels of management. It is not an exclusive function of any management level or department. Managers must plan for every change that occurs in an organization. However, the scope of planning differs at all levels among different departments. So, kailangan daw itong mga plans na na ano mo na ginagawa mo for an organization should be persuasive at required daw yon sa lahat ng levels of management. Though iba-iba ang pinaplano in different functional areas of management, but kailangan persuasive daw. Bakit persuasive? Kasi parang 'di ba kapag halimbawa nagpaplano kayo 'di ba, na-excite na kayo, parang pinaplano pa lang, gusto nyo na agad mangyari, di ba? So yun kailangan persuasive daw iyon. Parang convincing ba, di ba? So sa pagpaplano pa lang, ando doon na dapat yung parang kagustuhan mo na or na matupad yun or na ma-achieve yun, di ba? So halimbawa para pa lang, di ba? Kayo-kayo. Halimbawa, kung may mga sa mga previous sections ninyo nung high school pa kayo or nung junior high pa kayo, di ba? Pag halimbawa nagdo-drawing kayo ng gala or ng swimming or ng kung ano man, di ba? Minsan pinaplano pa lang excited na, di ba? So yun po iyon. Okay? Next, it is a mental activity. So planning is a mental process involving imagination, foresightedness, and sound judgment. Plans are based on careful analysis of internal and external factors influencing business activities. It is carried out in a logical and systematic manner. So bakit siya sinatawag na mental activity? Kasi when you are doing planning, pagaganahin mo yung utak mo, yung imagination mo, di ba? Okay? So, lahat ng po pwedeng mangyari, ini-imagine mo na kapag nagpa-planning pa lang kayo, 'di ba? So, 'di ba? Gawin ulit natin sa setup sa case ninyo, 'di ba? Kapag kaya kayo minsan, 'di ba, sabi nga persuasive, 'di ba minsan pinaplano pa lang nakakaramdam na agad kayo ng excitement. Bakit? Kasi iniisip niyo na agad siya. Parang nagkakaroon na agad kayo ng imagination tungkol dun sa pinaplano ninyo. Kaya siya it is a mental activity. And not only with that, kung saan nakakaramdam kayo ng excitement, but kailangan during the planning process, nafo-foresightan ninyo yung po pwedeng mangyari. Okay? Nakikinikita na ninyo kung ano kaya yung po pwedeng mangyayari kapag ginawa nyo na itong plano na ito. So habang pinaplano pa lang, kailangan nakikita nyo na ahead kung ano yung po pwedeng mangyari. So that is why it is a mental activity, di ba? So next is it is a continuous process. It is an ongoing process of adapting the organization with the changes in business environment. So, 'di ba nga, sabi nga, the only constant thing in the world is change daw, 'di ba? So, lahat nagbabago. So, with that, kung halimbawa nagkaroon ka na ng particular plan at nagkaroon ng changes, kailangan mai-adapt mo agad or maka-adapt ka kaagad dun sa change na nangyayari. So, yung plano mo, kailangan i-adjust mo rin agad sa kung ano man yung pagbabago na nangyayari, 'di ba? So halimbawa, tulad nung nangyari noong March, 'di ba? Hindi naman natin inaasahan lahat na magla-lockdown, 'di ba? So ano nangyari? Lahat na stock up, walang pwedeng lumabas, 'di ba? Pati yung pag school ninyo, hindi na nga kayo nakapag-moving up, di ba? Wala nang ceremony sa naganap. So, with that, kung naplano na ahead of time yung kunwari yung moving up ninyo nung junior high school kayo at nagkaroon nga ng ganong sudden changes na nagkaroon ng lockdown. So, with that plans, kailangan makapag-adapt ka na agad. Okay? Magawan mo na agad ang paraan kung paano mo mai-adjust yung naiplano mo na ahead of time bago pa mangyari yon. So, naapektuhan yung plano mo, so kailangan mai-adjust mo iyon. Okay? Next, it involves choice. It is essentially a choice among various alternative course of action. A manager has to select the best alternative after careful analysis and evaluation. So while you're doing the planning, it involves choices daw. Bakit? Kasi 'di ba, while you are doing the planning, parang minsan mamimili kayo, anong gagawin? Ito ba o ito? 'Di ba? Halimbawa, plano nga ninyo kunwari mag-outing kayong buong section kayo. Oh, ano ang iuulam? Ano ang dadalhin? Adobo o ibang ulam? Adobo o menudo? Saan magsuswimming? Sa ganito o sa ganyan? So, while doing the planning, meron ka ring choices na ginagawa. Okay? And then, kailangan, while doing the planning, syempre, kailangan piliin yung best choice, di ba? Minsan pa nga, bago kayo mag-plan, di ba, nagbobotohan pa kayo. Saan? Sino? Magkano, 'di ba? So it involves choices we're doing while doing the planning. And then next is it is forward looking. So planning means looking ahead and preparing for the future. It involves analysis of the future needs and requirements of the business and preparing for it. So forward looking, gaya nga ng sabi ko, 'di ba, while doing the planning, sabi nga natin kanina, 'di ba, it is a mental process. So aside from, kasi nga kailangan mo ma-foresight yung po pwedeng mangyari. And then, sabi nga, it is a forward-looking. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan mo nang makita in the future yung ano yung po pwedeng mangyari pag na-implement na yung plan na yon. And it involves analysis of the future needs. Ano pa kaya pagdating nung time na yon, nagagawin mo na yon, ano pa kaya ibang kailangan at kailangan paghandaan. Para pagdating nung time na yon, ready na, prepared na ang lahat. Okay? So, bago pa man mangyari, na paghandaan na ninyo. Parang, kapag may bagyo, 'di ba? Naghahanda kayo ng mga hinahanda ninyo yung mga gamit ninyo. So, kailangan meron kayo naka-ready na posporo, kandila, at kung ano-ano pa, 'di ba? So, kasi nakikinikinita mo yun na maaaring may ganoong mangyari. May sabihin natin, maaaring mawalan ng kuryente. So, kinita na ninyo yung pwedeng mangyari. Kaya pinaghandaan na ninyo. Okay? Kaya siya forward-looking. And the next is, it is flexible. Planning is based on future forecast of events and situations. Since future is uncertain, plans are flexible enough to adapt with the future change of events. So ito na nga yung kanina, 'di ba? Na kailangan kung ano man yung mangyari na changes, kailangan maka-adapt ka kaagad dun sa changes na nangyari. Okay? So kaya kailangan yung plano, lahat dapat 'yon ay flexible. The next is, it is an integrated process. Plans are structured in a systematic and logical sequence where each plan or step is highly interdependent and mutually supportive. So bakit siya mutually supportive? Kasi nga iisang goal lang naman na sinusundan ninyo. And then integrated process siya, sabi nga kasi, plans are structured in a systematic and logical sequence. So kung halimbawa, kami, tulad niyan, nasa ano kami, before, member ako ng Parish Commission on Youth or Youth sa Simbahan, 'di ba? So, every start of the year, mga around January, February yan, nagkakaroon kami ng annual planning na kung saan pinaplano namin lahat ng mga magiging activities namin for the whole year. Okay? So, hindi naman kami nagpaplano na magsisimula kami sa March kasi trip namin, ganun. O kaya hindi naman magsisimula kami ng bandang May or June kasi bakasyon yan, sports fest, ganyan. Hindi. Kailangan logical yon. Okay? Tsaka systematic. Kailangan pagkakasunod-sunod yon. Kasi nga, maaaring interdependent siya or maaaring related yung first activity mo dun sa nauna. Okay? Kaya kailangan logical or in sequence yung pagpaplano ninyo. Okay? And then next is, yan, meron daw tayong tinatawag na levels of planning. So we're done with the nature of planning. Now we will proceed with the levels of planning. So first is the corporate level. Corporate planning is creating strategy for the overall wellness of the organization. This level of planning is usually referred to as the grand strategy, for it constitutes the level of decision making which dictates the activities of all the other levels. So kumbaga, kung halimbawa nasa pyramid yan, yung corporate level of planning, yun to yung pinaka nasa taas. Okay? Kasi sila, yung kung ano man yung pagpaplanuhan nila, yun yung susundin ng mga nasa baba. Okay? No nasa different level pa, under the corporate level. Kumbaga, ito yung pinaka-general plan ng buong organization na susundin ng iba pang level. Okay? So, next is business level, also known as division level, since it involves the competitiveness of the organization with other organizations. It deals with the only one business compared to the corporate level, which covers all the parts of the company. So ito namang business level, 'di ba? Kung mapapansin niyo sa different business organizations, sa mga different corporations, different companies, sa corporate world, meron different departments diyan. Meron, sabi natin, marketing department, merong human resource department, merong finance department, operations, at kung ano-ano pang department. So, yun yung tinatawag natin na division level or business level, na kung saan each department, meron silang ginagawang pagpaplano or planning para doon sa kanilang department. Kung paano nila mapapaganda pa yung operations ng kanilang department. Na kung saan yung planning nila or yung pinaplano nila dapat naka-align sa kung ano yung plano na nilabas ng corporate level. Okay? So again, kung sa pyramid, si corporate level yung nasa pinakataas, then si business level yung nasa gitna. Then, third one is functional level, often referred to as the department level. This is where the organization is concerned with the marketing, production, human resources, etc. The functional level of a business organization is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that each and every single aspect of the organization is run in the most professional manner. So dito naman sa functional level, ito na, yung parang ah, actual operations na noong business. Okay? So now, let's proceed with the types of planning. So first is the operational planning. This type of planning typically describes the day-to-day running of the company. Operational plans are often described as single-use plans or ongoing plans. Single-use plans are created for events and activities with single occurrence such as single marketing campaign. Ongoing plans include policies for approaching problems, rules for specific regulations, and procedures for a step-by-step process for accomplishing particular objectives. So sa operational planning, ito naman yung type of plan na kung saan related sa mismong operation ng business. Okay? So ito yung kumbaga sa araw-araw na operation, kaya nga siya sinabing describes the day-to-day running of the company. Okay, yun yung tinatawag natin na operational planning. Okay, in terms of maaaring sa delivery, sa acquisition ng raw materials sa kailangan, sa pagde-deliver ng service. Okay, so yun yung tinatawag natin na operational planning na kung saan related mismo sa actual operations noong business. Okay, next naman is strategical planning. So strategic planning includes a high-level overview of the entire business. It is the foundational basis of the organization and will dictate long-term decisions. This includes the important components such as vision, mission, and values. It involves analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of the organization as well as its opportunities and threats. So sa strategical planning, so from the term strategic, so ito naman ngayon kung paano mo, ito yung pag-plans mo kung paano ninyo maa-achieve yung mga plan na binaba ng corporate level. Okay? So more on strategies naman ito in regards with the operation of the business. Okay? Kung paano mapapalago yung business, paano kayo mag-expand, di ba? So that is strategical planning. And then, it is a kind of planning that offers guidance to organizations on how to proceed accordingly on how with their operations, allocate resources, and meet target goals. So, yun na nga. So, more on strategies na nga ito. Okay? And then next is, meron naman tayong tinatawag na tactical planning. So, tactical planning supports strategic planning. It includes tactics that the organization plans to use to achieve what is outlined in the strategic planning. So, in short, yung pong strategic planning na naka-align sa actual goal, wherein nandoon din yung strategies, dito naman sa tactical, more on detailed. Detailed to compare doon sa strategic. So, naka-align to or complementary to doon sa strategic planning. Then, kung ano man yung napagplanuhan doon sa strategic, like yung mga strategies sa pipiliin mo, dito sa tactical, i-detailed mo naman ngayon. Okay? Naka-detailed na yung mga process, kung paano yung mga activities na gagawin ninyo para ma-achieve ninyo yung inyong objectives. Okay? Next naman is contingency planning. So sa contingency plans are often referred to as Plan B because these are made when something unexpected happens or when something needs to be changed. So in short, itong contingency plan is yun nga, plan B ninyo. So kung meron kayong plan A, yung pinaka main plan ninyo, etong contingency plan is yung plan B. Kumbaga, backup plan ninyo ito. Okay? Next naman is Yan, contingency planning can be helpful in circumstances that call for a change. Although managers should anticipate changes when engaged in any of the primary types of planning. Contingency planning is essential when changes cannot be foreseen. So, eto na nga yung, di ba yung sinasabi natin kanina na kung halimbawa may changes na nangyari, okay, then hindi mo naman expected, then maaapektuhan kung ano man yung plan mo. So, kaya tayo merong contingency plan or plan B. Okay? Para if ever na magkaroon ng changes, meron kayong backup plan. Okay? Next is tools for planning. Often discussed in tools for planning are models that measure the internal and external environments. These models create forward-looking projections based on the past and present data. Therefore, they are useful only once enough data have been collected. Because of this, tools for planning largely focus on generating enough data to construct valid recommendations. So meron tayong ginagamit na tools kapag tayo po ay magke-create ng ating mga plans. So ano-ano ba itong mga tools ito? But before diverting attention to the tools used for planning, let us look first on several business resources for creating a plan which include the following. So ito naman yung tinatawag natin na several business resources na ginagamit din for planning. First is industry experts. So, whether employees or external consultants, a few individuals with extensive experience in a given industry are valuable resources in the planning process. So, sa planning process, kailangan din natin ng tulong nitong industry experts. So, kaya nga from the term industry expert, may expertise pagdating sa ganoong industry. Okay? So, kailangan yung kanilang mga inputs, kailangan yung kanilang mga idea na makakatulong para doon sa planning. Okay? Kasi since alam na nila yung mga pasikot-sikot sa industry, so mas makakatulong sila pagdating sa planning. Okay? Next is consultants. Consultants are commonly brought in during strategy formulation and for a variety of other reasons. Most important of this would be providing an objective lens for internal affairs. It is difficult to see the whole house from inside the house, and upper management can utilize an external opinion to ensure they are seeing operations clearly and objectively. So basically, when we say consultants, yan nga, kadalasan dyan, pag consultant, parang outside the organization na yan. Bakit? Kasi sila yung nakakakita sa buong organization from the outside. Okay? Kaya ngayon, lumalapit sa consultant para makita at ipa-consult kung yung naging plano ba, effective, maganda ba, okay? So, yun yung function ng consultant. Okay? And then next is inclusion of stakeholders. Upper management will want as much information as possible from everyone involved. Some example include consumer surveys on satisfaction, supplier projections for cost over a given time frame, consumer inputs on needs still unfilled, and shareholder views. Okay, so dito naman sa inclusion sa planning daw kailangan din daw itong inclusion of stakeholders. Kasi since sila may alam sa operation, so kailangan involved din sila, part din sila or isa rin sila sa resources sa kailangan for planning. Okay? Siyempre, sila yung nagpapatakbo ng business kaya kailangan alam nila kung ano yung pinaplano at kung kakayanin ba ng business. Lalo na in terms of decision making, sila ang kailangan. Okay? Now, let's proceed with ito na yung tools available. Listed below are the main tools available for consideration along with a brief description of how each tool is useful. So, ito na yung different tools na gagamitin for planning. So, when we say tools, hindi ito ibig sabihin ng mga gamit-gamit ha. Okay? So, ito yung iba-iba to ma-encounter natin later on. So, una na nga daw dyan is yung forecasting. So, forecasting is the most common strategic tools and should be considered whenever projects are being designed. Forecasting, simply put, is projecting the future of a project by leveraging all the available knowledge to generate likelihood of success. So, Forecasting, ibig sabihin, fino-forecast ninyo yung po pwedeng mangyari. Tinitingnan na ninyo kung ano yung po pwedeng mangyari or kung ano yung pwedeng ma-achieve or kung ano yung pwedeng mangyari after doing the plan or after the implementation of plan. Okay? So, kailangan sa forecasting, yung nabanggit natin kanina na nature nga niya, di ba? Kailangan makita ninyo kung ano yung po pwedeng mangyari soon during the implementation of the plan. Okay? Next is scenario planning. Scenario planning is an interesting tool with which strategist constructs various scenarios to test out potential trajectories of specific operational plans. So, while doing the plan, parang ano rin to mini role play, parang ganun, mini skit, na kung saan ginagkakaroon kayo ng different scenarios or yung mga possibilities na po pwedeng mangyari. So dito, sa scenario planning, bino-brought up yung mga po pwedeng mangyari, yung mga issues and scenarios na po pwedeng mangyari during the implementation of the plan. Okay? And then next is benchmarking. Can be done qualitatively or quantitatively, and it is comparative approach to strategy. Benchmarking usually requires the identification of a close competitor with similar strategic prerogatives so that the strategist can compare and contrast the two companies' strengths and weaknesses. So identifying strategies for improvements or competitive advantages. So when we say benchmarking, ito naman yung pag-set mo ng strategy mo na kung saan kayo yung mag-trend setter or magse-set ng trend na kung saan iibahin ninyo yung dating nung brand or nung produkto or nung business ninyo compare sa inyong mga competitor, okay? So magse-set kayo ng inyong competitive advantage when you do or when you use this benchmarking, okay? Kaya siya benchmarking kasi tinatry ninyo na maging mas ahead kayo with your competitor. Okay? Next is participatory and contingency planning. For the participatory and contingency planning, as stated above, contingency planning can be described as the backup plan, while participatory planning is a primary plan. An excellent tool for strategists pursuing a particularly risky venture is to develop the primary objectives and strategy while simultaneously constructing a contingency plan that will limit the negative effects of failure. So gaya nga no nabanggit natin kanina sa type of plan which is contingency plan, ito po iyon. So ito yung pag-create ninyo ng backup plans. Okay? So yung participatory is yun yung main plan ninyo while the contingency plan, ito yung backup plan. Okay? So parehas yung tool sa pag-conduct ng planning. Okay? So yung main plan ninyo, ang tawag doon is participatory while the contingency is your backup plan or yung inyong plan B. Okay? So para maiwasan yung nga negative effects or yung failure. Okay? Then next is goal setting. Similar to MBO and SMART, which will be discussed later on, is a simple method for strategies to establish and enforce specific goals within the organization or strategic business unit. So goal setting creates incentives for employees by identifying achievable end results which drives the direction of the company towards commonly established goals. Okay? So dito naman sa goals, ayan, sa goal setting, part din yan ng planning, syempre kailangan merong goal na isi-set na kung saan ito daw yung nagke-create ng incentives for employees. So once na nagkaroon ng incentives, syempre mas magkakaroon ng drive yung mga employees na mag-participate and tumulong para ma-achieve yung goals ng organization. Then management by objectives or MBO is the process of defining, disseminating, and implementing the objectives that an organization has identified as strategic. So objectives provide factual and achievable strategies that align with employee and manager goals in order to ensure that all participants are on the same page. It is also useful to set goals and a timeline to assess progress and ensure that each individual is achieving their segment of plan. So, MBO nga daw, ito na yung implementation of objectives. Okay? And then, this is also the strategies na sinusunod ng buong organization. Next is yung SMART goals. SMART model aims to design goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, and realistic and time-targeted. This model identifies specific goals, measures, and measure inputs and outputs, ensures that the goals are attainable and relevant to the mission of the company, and constructs a timeline. So when we say SMART goals, ayun nga, kailangan specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-targeted. So, hindi ka naman po pwede mag-set ng objective na hindi smart. So, kailangan smart yung objective. Kaya mahirap naman mag-set ng objective na hindi naman realistic, hindi naman time-targeted, hindi naman siya achievable, di ba? So, kailangan, once you set your goal, it should be smart. And then, now, we will proceed with the 5 process steps of organizational planning. So, the organizational planning process includes 5 phases that ideally form a cycle. Strategic, tactical, operational, and contingency planning fall within these 5 stages. So, step 1, strategic plans. So, the steps in this initial stage includes, first and foremost, review your mission, vision, and values. And then, next step is gather about your company, like performance, indicating metrics from your sales department. So, dito sa first step muna, syempre kung halimbawa kayo ay nasa isang business organization na or nasa isang company kayo, kailangan alamin nyo muna kung ano yung mission ng organization or ng company or ng business. Then, after reviewing that, the mission, vision, and values, core values, you will now gather the data about your company, like performance, indicating metrics from your sales department. Kailangan mo muna makuha yung data. Okay, yung status noong organization or status ng business in terms of sales, ganyan, and other data. The next is perform a SWOT analysis. Take stock of your company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, magkakanda kayo ng SWOT analysis noong organization. Okay? And then, the last step for the strategic plans or in this stage is set big picture goals that align with company mission, vision, and values. So, dito ka na ngayon magsiset ng iyong mga goals na gusto mong ma-achieve. Okay? For the organization or for the business. Okay? So, once again, for the strategic plan, unang-una, re-reviewin mo muna kung ano yung pinaka-goal. Okay? Pinaka-goal noong business organization. Then second, you have to gather data. Okay? Gather data about the organization. Ano bang status niya? Ano bang in terms of sales, yan, in terms of production, in terms of competition, kukunin nyo lahat ng mga data na yon. And then for the third one is perform SWOT analysis. So na-discuss natin yung SWOT analysis last week. So alam na ninyo yan. Then isa na rin yan sa assignment niyo, 'di ba? Pinagawa ko yun sa assignment niyo yung SWOT analysis. So magkakaroon ka ng SWOT analysis ng business. And then for the fourth one or the fourth step dito sa first stage, yung fourth stage pala for this step is yun na pagse-set na ninyo ng goal na kailangan naka-align doon sa mission, vision, and core values ng organization. Okay? Next naman is for the step number 2, translate the strategic plan into tactical steps. So at this point, it is time to create tactical plans. Bring in middle managers to help do the following. So first is define short-term goals. Quarterly goals are common that support the strategic plan for each department, such as setting a quota for the sales team so the company can meet its strategic revenue goal. So yung short-term goals, ito muna yung kailangan ninyong i-review sa pag-translate. Ano ba muna yung mga short-term goals ninyo na gagawin or na ini-implement para ma-achieve ninyo yung pinaka-mission or objective or yung doon sa 'di ba for the step 1 mo yung nag-set ka na ng goal, 'di ba? Doon sa last stage ninyo doon sa step 1, 'di ba? Itoong ayan, yung set big picture goals. Ito yung pinaka main goal mo na ma-achieve for the organization. So ngayon, pagdating mo dito sa step 2, magde-define ka ngayon ng short-term goals. Ano-ano kaya yung mga pupwede mong gawin para ma-achieve mo yung big goal na sinet mo dun sa step 1, okay? Then after defining the short-term goals, next is develop process for reviewing goal achievement to make sure strategic and tactical goals are being met. Like running a CRM report every quarter and submitting it to the Chief Revenue Officer. Okay? So dito naman, sa next step or sa next stage nung step 2 is ano kaya yung po pwede mong gawin para ma-check or this is the process of checking kung na-achieve ba yung goal or kung nakakatulong ba yung wait lang, may nag-raise ng hand. Del Pozo. Ano yon? Del Pozo, nag-raise ng hand.
Sir, napindot lang po.
Okay. Sige, tuloy. So, dito naman sa step number 2, dito sa translate strategic plan into tactical. So, next stage naman dito is ano naman kaya yung processes na po pwede mong gawin para ma-check kung na-achieve ba yung goals na sinet mo doon sa step 1. Okay? Nakakatulong kaya yung mga short-term goals na sinet mo or not? Okay? So, yan yung second stage for the step 2. Next is develop contingency plans like what to do in case the sales team CRM malfunctions or there is a data breach. So dito ngayon papasok yung contingency plan na gusto mong gawin. Ano yung backup plan kaya na po pwede mong gawin sakaling magkaroon ng problema doon sa mga plans na nilatag mo para ma-achieve yung goal. So dito papasok ang inyong contingency plan. So, dito naman sa step 3 na, plan daily operations. So, operational plans or the processes that determine how individual employees spend their day are largely the responsibility of middle managers and the employees that report to them. Managers may choose to set some plans such as work schedules themselves. On the other hand, individual tasks that make up sales plan may require the input of the entire team. This stage should also include setting goals and targets that individual employees should hit during a set period. So, dito naman sa plan daily operations, ito na ngayon, ano kaya yung mga pwede mong gawin daily na kung meron kang short-term goals doon sa step number 2, dito naman sa step number 3, ano naman kaya pang araw-araw mong gagawin? Ano kaya mga strategies mo day to day para ma-achieve yung short-term goal na kung saan yung short-term goal na sinet mo makakatulong para ma-achieve mo yung iyong main goal. Okay? And that is the step number 3. Next is step number 4. It is now time to put plans into action. Theoretically, activities carried out on a day-to-day basis defined by the operational plan should help reach tactical goals which in turn supports the overall strategic plan. So kung yung mga plano na yun kanina, ito na ngayon sa step 4, i-execute na ninyo. Ito na yung actual implementation ng mga plano na dinrawing ninyo. Kung halimbawa gumala kayo, nagplano kayo ng swimming, nag-drawing kayo ng swimming, ito naman na yung part na kukulayan na ninyo yung dinrawing ninyo. Okay? Yan. And then step number 5, monitor progress and adjust plans. So no plan is complete without periods of reflection and adjustment. At the end of each quarter or the short-term goal period, middle managers should review whether or not they hit the benchmarks established in step 2, the submit data back reports to top level managers. So dito naman sa step 5, monitoring na to nung progress or monitoring na to ng plan kung na-achieve ba or hindi. Or kung na-achieve ba or hindi. Okay? Then if not, halimbawang kung quarterly meron kayong ginagawang monitoring, kung halimbawang after the first quarter hindi nag-hit or hindi lumalapit sa objective na sinet ninyo, yung mga hindi nakakatulong yung mga plans na nilatag ninyo para ma-achieve yung objective, it's time for you to adjust your plan. Okay? Pero kung nagiging maganda naman, kailangan ipagpatuloy lang at continuous monitoring lang. Okay?